Agud Yom Tiv, Agud Yom Tiv. Today we're going to talk about what are we celebrating. Let's close our eyes as we envision the story of Yud Dalet Kislev. I want you to picture the scene of how somebody would hear the story of Yud Dalet Kislev today. There's a boy, we're going to call him Zalman. And Zalman comes home from yeshiva after having a Yud Dalet Kislev upbringing. And the bus stops in front of Zalman's house. And Zalman thinks to himself, well, Yud Dalet Kislev was a long time ago. My Zadie's an old man. So if my Zadie's an old man, maybe he knows what happened a long time ago. Because my older brother, Shmuley, one time told me that he was born on the last day of the olden days. So if he was born on the last day of the olden days, then maybe my Zadie was born maybe in the beginning of the olden days, or maybe from the olden days, I don't know. So I think I'm going to go to my Zadie's house and find out. And Zalman walks down the street because he lived a few blocks away from his Zadie, and he knocks on the door. Oh, Zadie, it's me, your favorite uncle, Zalman. No, Zalman, like the Alter Rebbe, but maybe you come open the door. Yeah, wait a minute, I'm coming. The Zadie opens the door. Zalman, what brings you here today? What's going on? Well, you see, I had a little bit of ketchup on my shirt because we had a fleishik sunda yeshiva from the salami we had because we had Yud Dalet Kislev for bread, sorry, I tried to clean it up. But I'm Zadie, I was thinking, maybe you could tell me the story of Yud Dalet Kislev. Like, were you there? Because you're like very old. I don't be chutzpah, chas v'shalom, but of course I was there, Zalman. Come rein. I was not much older than you, but I managed to sneak in there. One time the Chassidim ran away to Varsha for the chas, and I snuck into the wagon, and the Chassidim were looking around, and they realized, hey, what's this bicycle doing in the wagon? But it was too late for them to kick me out, so they brought me all the way to the Rebbe's chas, and I was zeicher to be there. So come over here, sit down here on the couch, and I'm going to tell you the story from Yud Dalet Kislev. Zalman sits down on the couch. And his Zadie takes out a little kapitchkin mashke, and Zalman has some cookies over there, and he's probably fleishik, so he doesn't have some milk with the cookies, maybe he has a little bit of salsa, I don't remember, wasn't there, but either way, Zadie starts telling him the story. Oh, Zalman, the shidduch of the Rebbe and the Rebbetzin Chayimushke wasn't stam a shidduch. Do you know that the Rebbe Rashab himself was the shadchan? Really? The Rebbe Rashab, like the Rebbe Rashab made the shidduch? Yeah, and the Rebbe Rashab made the shidduch. As a matter of fact, the Rebbe Rashab even made the shidduch for the Rebbe's parents. Oh, wow, I didn't know that the Rebbe Rashab made the shidduch for the Rebbe's parents also. Wow, Zadie, could you tell me more? What else happened? Well, what else happened was, interesting fact that although the Rech shidduch was suggested by the Rebbe Rashab, the Rebbe, our Rebbe, never actually saw the Rebbe Rashab. And in Tofresh Pei Gimel in 1923 was the first time the Rebbe and the Rebbetzin met. And sure enough, they became Chos and Kale. And the L'chaim for the Rebbe and the Rebbetzin took place. I know, in Lubavitch Yeshiva. What? Well, which Lubavitch Yeshiva? On the Crown Street, the Crown Heights. Remember that Uncle Baruch, he became a Chos? No, there was no Lubavitch Yeshiva in Crown Heights. This wasn't in Crown Heights, this wasn't in Russia, this wasn't Leningrad, the L'chaim happened. Leningrad? What's that? It's a city in Russia, Leningrad, but it's Petersburg, Leningrad, it depends on the day, the name kept on changing. But either way, the L'chaim happened in the apartment of the Frierdiker Rebbe. Were you there? No, I wasn't there. But I know that in the Frierdiker Rebbe's apartment is where the L'chaim took place. Did the chasna happen right away? No, the chasna didn't happen. As a matter of fact, the chasna wasn't even in the same country. Really? What country did the chasna happen? The chasna happened in the country of Poland. You see, the Frierdiker Rebbe, between the time of the Frierdiker Rebbe, after he was arrested, he was kicked out of Russia. And Poland is not in Russia, so the chasna happened outside in Poland. So everybody went to the chasna?
No, not everybody went to the chasana. Only very special people were able to get out. And the Frierdiker Rebbe had to provide a visa for everyone that he wanted to leave. He had to give a reason why you're taking this person, why you're taking that person. And when he got a visa for the Rebbe, our Rebbe, the Frierdiker Rebbe said, I'm taking him because this is my son-in-law. He's going to be my daughter's chassan. And you know what the Russian soldier told him? Or the Polish soldier told him?
Rabbi, why do you need to bring this young man out of Russia in order to be your daughter's husband, Chaya Mushka's husband? You can find very smart rabbis here in Poland also. Perhaps a Polish Bucher can be the chassan and the son-in-law of the Rebbe.
Oh no, the Frierdiker Rebbe said, such a chassan I won't find anywhere else. And that is true. And as you know, the chasna for the Rebbe and the Rebbetzin was set to be a new Dalet kislev.
Really? I know that. But I want to know more about the chasna and about you going on the wagon to the chasna. Could you tell me more about that?
Absolutely, I'll tell you more about that. So the Rebbe's chasna was set for Tuesday, Yud Dalet Kislev Tovresh Peites in 1929 or 28, I don't remember.
But what happened? I know it was a long time ago, but what happened?
Yes, I'll tell you what happened. On the Shabbos before the chasna, the Ufruf, the Rebbe got an aliyah and the Frierdiker Rebbe made a big kiddush, a big farbrengen in the shul. And I think the Frierdiker Rebbe also said a maimen then. And it was a much simcha and rejoicing. The meaning was in those days that you would make a su'udah saniyim, a su'udah for the poor people, for the chasna. And being that the Rebbe's chasna was on Tuesday, this suda took place on, I believe, by around the time of the chasna as well.
Oh, that was the days leading up to the chasna. But who came to the chasna and who catered the food?
I don't know who catered the food, but let me tell you about the chasna. This was not the first chasna the Frierdiker Rebbe made. As a matter of fact, the Frierdiker Rebbe made a chasna all before for his older son-in-law, the Rashag. But the Rashag, Reb Shmuel Garari's chasna, was not nearly as big as the Rebbe's chasna. This chasna took place in the Lubavitch Yeshiva in Varsha.
Not the Lubavitch Yeshiva, the crowd-eyed?
No, in the Lubavitch Yeshiva in Varsha. That was where the Kabbalah's Panim and the Chuppah took place. Now there were various different types of invitations that went out. There was an invitation for the Chassidim, an invitation for the Bachrim, and an invitation for many, many different Rebbes and Kota Yidden that were in Poland at that time. And all the Chassidim, whoever was able to come, traveled from far and near to come to the Chasana. They spared no expense to see the Chasana of the daughter of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and many Rebbes came as well. This was not just beautifully, begashmias, a beautiful chasna, but it was also a ruchniistic, a holy wedding with so many holy people there in attendance. By this chasna, because it was so packed and so many people wanted to come, not everybody was able to participate. And even those people that were able to participate in the chasna were only able to come for a certain amount of time.
So how did they know?
Let me tell you. On Tuesday, the day of the chasana, the Zal in the yeshiva in Varsha was set up beautifully. The Rebbe fasted, obviously, our Rebbe, because it was the day of his chasana, you're supposed to fast, and was learning Reishis Chachma, and the Rebbe didn't say a word to nobody. Even the Shema, nobody heard the Rebbe speak. At around 3 o'clock, people started coming from far and wide to try to get into the Zal. But you couldn't just come in by yourself. You had to have a special card, a pass, in order to come to the chasna.
You mean like a pass I get from learning class and camp if I want to leave my learning class so the learning director doesn't catch me and take away my activities or my bad activities? That kind of pass?
I don't know what the pass in the camp looks like, but this was a card that said that you're able to come in for the Kabbalah's Panim. Now, certain people would try to be a chevraman and try to make their own cards. So it's called forgery to make a fake pass. So in order to prevent that, they had a special stamp on the back from the yeshiva to make sure that only those people would be able to come in. the Kabbalah's Ponim, people started coming at 3 o'clock. And the Frierdiker Rebbe and the Chassan, the Rebbe, came in at 5 o'clock. And the Rebbe sat at the front. And the Frierdiker Rebbe said a maimer. And the Frierdiker Rebbe explained that by a chasana, many generations of parents and grandparents, and especially in this case the Rabbeim, are present, and people were able to feel the presence of the Rabbeim by this chasana. At around 6 o'clock, the Kala Rebbe shluchim-rock arrived.
6 o'clock? You mean like an hour after the Kabbalah's Ponim started?
Yes, it was around 6 o'clock. Or to be more accurate, it was actually 6:30. A car pulls up. And in the car was Rebbetzin shluchim-rock and her mother, Rebbetzin Nechemedina. And the car, the inside was decorated with beautiful flowers.
You mean they had cars at the old days? But they didn't have a horse and buggy?
Well, it's a very good question, Zamke. You know that having cars in those days wasn't a very common thing. Most people did still have horse and buggies. Only the real fancy people, or only on special occasions, that people have cars. And obviously the day of Yudal Kislev was the most monumentous occasion, and it calls for a ride in a car. So Rebbe shluchim-rock came. And there was a certain part of the yeshiva building that was set aside for the Ezras Noshim. And she sat in her place. It was like in a garden, covered with beautiful flowers. And the Rebbetzin was actually holding flowers in her hand. The chuppah took place outside. And there were over 3,000 people packed by the chuppah. Did you ever see 3,000 people?
Yeah, maybe by the Kiddush HaShluchim, but I don't know where they will make a chuppah by the Kiddush HaShluchim. That's a lot of people for a chasana. I think so.
Yes. And there were many lights strung up throughout the Mechotzer in order to make sure that there was light by the chuppah. And do you know who took the Rebbe down to the chuppah?
Yeah, I remember. My cousin Yoiki's chasana, it was his tati and the Kala's tati. So I'm assuming it would be the Rebbe, it's Frierdiker Rebbe, who's the Kala's tati, and the Rebbe's father, Rebbe Levi Yitzchak.
Oh, that is where you are mistaken,
The Zaidi said.
You see, the Rebbe's father, Rebbe Levi Yitzchak, didn't come to the chasana.
What? He didn't come to the chasana?
That's right.
What? He wasn't invited?
No, chas v'sholom, of course the Rebbe Levi was invited. But Rebbe Levi wasn't allowed to come, you see, because the Kommunisten didn't let Rebbe Levi leave Yekaterinoslav to come to the chasna of his own son. And we'll see soon what the Rebbe Levi did during the time of the chasna. So instead, the Frierdiker Rebbe took the Rebbe on one side, and his uncle Rebbe Hornstein, Rebbe Moshe Hornstein HaKoyin, took the Rebbe from the other side, and they were holding licht, and they took the Rebbe to the chuppah. And by the time they got to the chuppah, there were 5,000 people by the chuppah.
That's a lot of people.
Yes, of course, it's a lot of people. And they sang the Dalet Bavis, and the Frierdiker Rebbe himself was Masane Kedushin by the chasana. And after the chuppah, they went to have the Suda. And the Suda wasn't able to fit in the hall for the Kabbalah's Ponim, so they had it in a very most prestigious, fancy hall in Varsha. And to get to this hall also, you need to have a very exclusive card to come to the Chasana Suda. And buying the Suda, like we said before, there were many different Rebbes and Gute Yidden. And do you know what the Frierdiker Rebbe did?
No, what did the Frierdiker Rebbe do? Tell me.
The Frierdiker Rebbe went around with a bottle of mashke in his hand and a towel over his arm, like the waiters do.
Yeah, like tip your waiter.
No, like in a fancy restaurant or the waiter goes around with a shmata with a towel on his head.
No, my waiter in camp wasn't so fancy.
I know, maybe because you didn't tip him enough.
What?
No, nothing important. The Frierdiker Rebbe would go around with a towel on his hand and a bottle of mashke, and the Frierdiker Rebbe was giving l'chaim and giving brachas, showering people with brachas by the chasana. It was an Eis Rotzen. And I remember as a little kid, I managed to sneak my way in from the chuppah to catch a ride to the chasana. I know I didn't have a car. Don't tell anybody, but I snuck in. I was hiding a little bit. And it was, the Frierdiker Rebbe's face was shining like the sun. And then the Frierdiker Rebbe took the hand of all these different Rebbes and they did a dance together. And it was amazing to see such holy people dancing on not just a physical dance, but a ruchniistic dance, a spiritual dance. I remember it till today. And the Rebbe was dressed like a real chosn. The Rebbe looked very noble. And Rebbe Tzachaya Mushke, not many people know this, but she wore many different garments. For different parts of the chasna, she was wearing a different garment. And it wasn't necessarily white, it was beige a little bit, or beige, or a light blue. Different colors. And for benching, the Frierdiker Rebbe was mechaber the different Rebbes with the Sheva brachas. And all these Rebbes, and Choshev Yidden, gave the Rebbe various different matanis and svarim. And the Sheva brachas of the Rebbe took place in Riga.
Where's Riga?
Riga is a place also in Poland. Or in Latvia, I'm sorry. Not in Poland.
But tell me what happened with the Rebbe's father, Reb Leivik. I'm sure Reb Leivik was very sad that he couldn't go to the chasna.
Yes, I'm sure Reb Leivik was very sad too. And Reb Leivik wrote many letters to the Rebbe in the days leading up to and following in the day of the chasna with brachas and expressing his wishes to be there. But the simcha of a father, and especially Reb Leivik, could not be outdone. And although as much as the communists wanted to stop him from participating in the chasna of his own son, our Rebbe, Reb Leivik, still found a way to celebrate. You know, in communist Russia, everything had to be done secret. To gather people, especially for a religious event, especially for chasna, was very dangerous.
Of course, I know stories about chassidim and people that went to jail or Siberia or very dangerous, scary stuff. So what did Reb Leivik do?
Reb Leivik made a chasna anyway.
A chasna? How can he make a chasna? The chasna and the kala are not there.
You're right. They weren't there physically. But the Leivik made a suda in his house. And he invited close friends and family. And chassidim throughout the town heard about the simcha. And they came too. Rebbe Tzachana writes that they thought they would probably have 30 people by this chasna. But you know how many people they had?
Well, you said a lot of people came, and they were expecting 30, so maybe like 45 or 50?
No, there was more than that.
52?
No!
I know. A lot of people is like 97.
No, more than that.
100?
No, there were 300 people there.
300? 300 people? That's a lot of people.
Yeah, that's a lot of people, that's right. And Leivik lived in a small apartment, he couldn't fit everybody there. And Leivik's neighbor heard the celebrations happening next door. They took the axes, and they took the hammers, and they smashed the walls down.
What?
Yeah, they smashed.
Why would they break the walls?
Because they wanted to expand the chasna hall. And they moved the furniture, and now the size of the chasna hall, instead of being one apartment, became 2 apartments.
That's still not so big.
Yes, you're right, it's still not so big. And the people were squashed together like sardines, and they were schwitzing, but they were dancing and celebrating the simcha of the Leivik's son, the Rebbe, getting married. At 7 o'clock, they had their own Kabbalah's Panim. And they read the Tnoim and they broke the plate. And at 11 o'clock they started the Suda and the dancing. And the dancing was felt by everyone as a spiritual dancing. And it wasn't just like a regular chasna that ended at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock. The dancing and the farbringing continued till 7 o'clock in the morning.
So you're saying the Rebbe really had 2 chasnas? One chasna in Varsha and one chasna in Yekaterinoslav by the Leivik?
That's right. The Leivik was celebrating the chasna of our Rebbe.
But Sadie, that's a nice story. What does that have to do with us today? Why, that was a long time ago.
You're right. It was a long time ago. But you know, Zamke, the Rebbe said about you Dalet Kislev, das ist der Tag, was hat verbunden mir mit euch und euch mit mir. It's the day that connected us to the Rebbe and the Rebbe with us. It's the day that the Rebbe married the Rebbe Tzimchane, the Rebbe Tzimchane. Sorry, Rebbe Tzimchane is the Rebbe's mother. The day the Rebbe married Rebbe Tzimchane, the daughter of the Frierdiker Rebbe, linking him to the chain of the Siyas Chabad to become another Rebbe, even though the Rebbe comes from the Tzemach Tzedek and is actually Rebbe Tzachayim Mushke's cousin. But by the Rebbe marrying Rebbe Tzachayim Mushke, in turn the Rebbe became our Rebbe and has a Shaykhs to Chassidim and the Rebbe's, and the way a Rebbe does. It's not just a personal chasna of the Rebbe and the Rebbetzin. It's not just a chasna story that happened a long time ago that I was so zeiche to be there. But the chasna of the Rebbe and the Rebbetzin is like the chasna of our own father and mother.
Yeah, I know. When I make a party and buy balloons by my parents' anniversary.
Because it's a special day for you. And Yud Dalet Kislev is a special day for us to remember. And for those of us that had the schus to be there, to relive and to rejoice and to verbring and say l'chaim and sing. Hey, you know, Yisham,